Right, Drew Dober versus Renato Moicano pretty much was like the main event. You would have thought that the card would have ended after this, obviously not. But it's his fight IQ which is actually very underrated, especially in this fight here. For example, he starts off the fight by throwing a double jab, but when he throws the jab, he gets caught with the first one with like a hook intercepting the jab. So he learns next time he's going to throw the jab, let me just arch it a bit more upwards so that when Drew Dober tries to throw a hook again, because that's what he likes to do, heavy hands, come out swinging like Michael Chandler, it will automatically block it because your arm's coming out high, it's away from your body to block. And one thing I would worry about with Renato Moicano is his chin usually, but in this fight, no, because you see him in the pocket trying to trade with Drew Dober, and I was like, what are you doing? That is the worst possible thing. But he eats the punches and then he learns. He does something that, what's his name? Curtis Blades needs to do. Stop being confident in your striking and mix up the wrestling. But Renato Moicano did that. He knew that after he got caught with this combination here, he was like, right, I'm not going to start to carry on striking and potentially get sparked unconscious. And because sometimes we can see that Moicano kind of like tries to overreach with the punch, it can make him become flat-footed. But again, his chin looked good. Drew Dober hit so hard. And he was caught in a flat-footed position with his chin central and Drew Dober fully extending, coming backwards and generating all of his power, eats the shot. And that's the shot that finally made him realise, right, let me go for a takedown now. He gets a bit unlucky with the first takedown attempt because you can kind of see Drew Dober lowers himself. He sprawls, and because Drew Dober's leaning over out of range kind of, he's not able to get like the hands locked together because Drew Dober's pushing his legs behind him. So what he does is he anticipates that Drew Dober's going to throw it again, which he does, throws a strike, and he dips his head down under, looks for the takedown. And he's not one of these guys who you call a quote soy boy jiu-jitsu guy. And what he does is brings the leg into him, traps the leg, and then interlocks his hands to get him off balance. Drives him forward, putting him even more off balance, and then tripping him over by putting his leg behind the ankle, and then using the momentum to drive him down to the ground. And then when they're on the ground, this is where you're going to have a lot of people being really annoyed with him, because on the ground, the activity was there, but it was really like bad activity. It was nothing significant, but it was enough to win the round and get by without being pulled up off the ground, because he was going for like these arm triangle attempts, which he was never getting because Drew Dober's blocking his neck, protecting it using his left arm, or I hope I've got the right arm, and then he's just leaning over, not even applying any shoulder pressure to the neck. But the reason he couldn't is because Drew Dober would always have the back leg of Renato Moicano trapped in like a triangle, so it's actually extremely hard to pull off the submission because you want to free both legs out when you're trying to go for an arm triangle. So if that weren't working, Moicano was smart because he could have got impatient and been like, oh, that's not working, let me try and force mount and then get pushed off. Because if you look at the way how Drew Dober's feet were positioned, I know this image might look a bit weird here in sus, but he was trying to like arch him to try and create a scramble or try and sweep him, one of the two. I think he was trying to go for like a sweep because with Drew Dober, he doesn't want to allow him to go into mount because that's where he can be extremely dangerous. And Moicano doesn't want to risk losing positions by forcing any heavy submissions because he knows if it goes back up to the feet, you're done. Because your striking, it's good, but against Drew Dober, it's not a good matchup in the striking department. But then when they go into the full guard position, you can see that Moicano actually doesn't like that position because I think there's not really much he can do from on top in full guard. Like, what submission is he going to pull off? Like a heel hook? That's really risky against a guy like Drew Dober, where if you try and pull a heel hook, you fall back, you fail that, you could have him on top of you, whacking you. So he decides, let me just go in stack guard. And when he's in stack guard, he's looking for Drew Dober to kick the leg so he can grab it, pull it, and then put himself in a better position on the ground in half guard, which I believe he just wanted to stay there and not risk getting like pushed off by being in full guard and allowing him to have more control of the hips. He didn't want that, so he just felt comfortable, laid and prayed a little bit in half guard, and was just winning the rounds by doing that. But because Drew Dober's always swinging wide, there is so many chances to get them takedowns. It happens all the time Well, not all the time, but it was happening in here, and that's why he struggles against grapplers. You're forcing like these knockouts, which can work against strikers, but against like proper wrestlers, and not McKinney, who tried to just knock him out, but against guys who just want to wrestle with you, it's going to be hard because they'll lock onto you in the clinch and then pull you down, which is what he did. And now, after saying all of this, Drew Dober actually wins this round by reversing Moicano with a lateral drop after Moicano trying to push the pace forward for the takedown, and then ends up landing a vicious ground and pound. And his ground and pound looked extremely effective, cut up Moicano completely. You can't even really see out the eye, I don't think, anymore. Well, he will be able to recover, but as of right now, the second. But not only that, he got the opportunity to use that lateral drop because Moicano was trying to take that back and get like a submission, and I can see why he did the lay and pray method, because he knows anytime he tries to like go for a submission where if they can slide out, they will just stand back up instead of laying the mount or like in the guard. He doesn't want to take that risk, so that's probably why he laid and prayed at times. And in round 3, you could see Moicano getting tired, and I don't get how, because when you're on top of your opponent, it doesn't take as much out of you, but probably the powerful shots made him a bit tired, because Drew Dober was winning the exchanges on the feet. You even see Renato Moicano's legs buckle in the 3rd round like he's going to go down. But before he goes down to the ground, he's actually able just to clinch onto him, and this is like the Hail Mary for him. It's like Drew Dober had a Daniel Rodriguez moment against Neil Magny. I'll put a tag up there so you can see what happened. He kind of like threw away the fight by just doing something like foolish, and Drew Dober did something similar. Does this lateral drop that fails after Renato Moicano's in the clinch, and then is able to get on top of him and just lay and pray and land some strikes, but nothing significant, and that just wins him the fight because he's able to get out of full guard and then get into half guard, and in that position he seems to be more safe than full guard, because look at all the space that Drew Dober has to cover to try and get out. You can't just push on the hips with your legs. He's got to use his hands. He's got to start shrimping, try and get onto that shoulder, because of where Moicano's feet is positioned in half guard compared to when you're in full guard. How much easier it is to like push on the hips and look for like a scramble. So that's why I believe Moicano decided, let me just stay in half guard, not really do much. And Habdeen kept saying, I'm going to stand you up every minute. He didn't do it. And he didn't have a bad performance all round today. Like, sometimes you hear these referees say, right, I'm going to stand you up if you don't do this, and they never do it. Or when someone's cheating, they don't do anything, they just say, don't do it. And it was just like Drew Dober's fight IQ in this fight. It just wasn't great. And at the end of the day, he's not really a fight IQ fighter. He's just a brawler full of power. Iron chin, Chad chin, whatever you want to call it. And can just sleep people, which is very exciting to watch. But against Moicano, it showed. It really did. And then for Moicano, he wants to fight Dan Hooker, I believe I heard him say. That would be an entertaining fight, and I hope he takes it, but it's like a lot of people want to fight Dan Hooker. It's not only him. So, yeah. That's all I've got to really say about him. Good post-fight interview talking about how he wants to join the SWAT team. He wants to become an American. His dad's having a kid at 62, which is madness, but still, just went on a run, and it was entertaining to watch. More entertaining than what happened in the Delize fight, if I'm honest, after round 2. But anyways, yeah. Thank you for watching. Talk to you soon. And for Drew Dober, he should fight. Probably a Paddy Pimblett if he ain't going to fight Matt Frivola. But if he ain't going to fight Matt Frivola, I doubt he'll want to fight a Drew Dober. But he has to have a top 15 fight eventually. So, yeah. Thank you for watching. Talk to you soon.